At Watch Dojo, we're passionate about one thing: movies. Experience the magic of cinema like never before and be a part of an epic journey beyond the big screen. Welcome to a world that's been ravaged by an extraterrestrial invasion, a world where humanity is no longer at the top of the food chain, but rather hunted like pests by an alien race known as the Klums. This is the world of Raqqa, a post-apocalyptic wasteland where the survivors live in constant fear of being captured, experimented on, or worse. It's a world where the remnants of human civilization lie in ruins, with only a few scattered settlements left to bear witness to what was once a thriving world. The streets are deserted. The air is thick with a stench of decay and destruction. The survivors are now living in a world where they're considered nothing more than pests, hunted down by their new alien overlords. The year is 2020, and the film begins with one survivor telling the story of how the Klums arrived on Earth with the intention of wiping out humanity and stealing their history and culture. They built breeding facilities for the survivors, turning them into nothing more than cattle, and the land is now covered in the corpses of the dying, a grim reminder of the horror that's taken over the planet. The defectors who managed to escape describe it as worse than hell, and it's not hard to see why. The Klums don't just kill humans, they slaughter them in waves. Their weapons are advanced, and their technology is far beyond anything humanity has ever seen. It's as if they were designed for the sole purpose of exterminating all life on Earth. And to make matters worse, they've built massive structures that spray methane into the air, creating their own atmosphere. The sky is perpetually dark, and the air is thick with noxious gases. It's a world where the sun never shines, and the stars are forever hidden behind a veil of toxic smog. They've even gone so far as to extinguish planet life to plant their own crops, causing the planet's temperature to rise and cities to flood. It's a world that's been altered beyond recognition, where the very fabric of reality has been torn apart by the Klums' insatiable thirsts for destruction. The Vermins, as they are now known, continue their assault on Earth, and the destruction they leave behind is unimaginable. Forests burn, creating a smoky haze that blankets the land and makes it impossible for the people to breathe, especially near the stacks. The Klums, with their advanced technology, have developed the ability to hack into human minds through direct eye contact, paralyzing and enslaving their victims by controlling their cerebrum and limbic system. The survivors of this war are a ragtag group of humans who have taken refuge underground or in abandoned buildings, scrounging for scraps of food and fighting with whatever weapons they can find. The Klums have weapons so advanced they seem invincible. Nanites, microscopic machines, are their ultimate weapon, making it incredibly difficult for the resistance to fight back. But the resistance remains determined, fueled by the belief that they are not just pests to be exterminated, but living beings with the rights to live and thrive. Despite their differences in race and background, they've united in the common goal of freeing humanity from the Raqqa's cruel grasp. Their raids are dangerous, but necessary to gather information about the Klums and to rescue captive humans from the horrors of their breeding facilities. What they witness is beyond horrific. The Klums dehumanize humans, treating them like objects to be experimented on and disposed of when they're no longer useful. During one such raid, the survivors came across a prisoner who has been grotesquely transformed by the Klums' twisted experiments. His painful cries for death echo through the halls of the breeding facility. The Klums, in their sadistic nature, choose to watch as he suffers, revealing the depths of their cruelty and sparking a new fire in their survivors' hearts. As the Klums' insatiable hunger for power grows, they lay their hands on the president of a nation determined to add another puppet to their collection. With a gesture, the alien overlords unleash an unknown device, cutting open the president's head and infusing his mind with alien cells of incomprehensible origin. Within moments, the once respected leader is transformed into a mindless shell of a human, an obedient drone at the Klums' beck and call. The Klums use their new puppet to disarm the human resistance, spinning tales of peace and coexistence to lull them into a false sense of security. But even as the president preaches non-violence, the Clums's cruel soldiers hunt down the remaining humans, leaving nothing but death and devastation in their wake. Despite the Clums's cunning tactics, the remaining human survivors are not so easily deceived. They know all too well the deceptions and tricks the Clums use to try and subjugate them. In a desperate bid to turn the tables, Della, one of the survivors, bravely steps forward, covered in explosives, pretending to surrender to the Clums. But the Clums are not so easily fooled, and as Della's ruse becomes clear, they ruthlessly exterminate her in a violent explosion. Unbeknownst to the Clums, Dawson, one of the few survivors who managed to escape their grasp, has already activated a trap loaded with explosives. As the Clums approach, confident in their domination, the trap detonates with a deafening blast. In the aftermath, the children who survived the attack can be heard cheering, picking up the severed limbs of the Clums in gleeful triumph. Though they know their fight against the Clums is far from over, this small victory fuels their determination to keep fighting and to never give up. In a cruel and calculated move, the Clums unleash a dark, oil-like substance upon the structures of the settlements of the surviving humans, hoping to suffocate their hopes and dreams in a sea of darkness and despair. But the human resistance is not so easily defeated. They have developed brain barriers, powerful tools that shield them from the Clums's insidious mind control powers. But the Clums are not so foolish, and they know that if they can cut off the resistance supply of materials, they will quickly gain the upper hand in this brutal war of attrition. With this in mind, they press forward, confident in their ability to outlast and outmaneuver their human foes. The extent of their depravity knows no bounds, as they use female prisoners as surrogate incubators, leading to the victims' certain death. As the smoke and the chaos of the battle cleared, one of the soldiers who had managed to escape caught sight of something truly miraculous. A being, shimmering and ethereal like an angel, materialized out of thin air like the northern lights. A few days went by and the new world had changed everything and everyone. In the desolate world left in the wake of the alien invasion, Nosh is a solitary figure who stands out from the crowd. He is a self-proclaimed pyromaniac and a master of technology, with a talent for creating deadly bombs and intricate locks for the brain. Despite living in a remote scrapyard, far away from the relative safety of the Resistance, his unique skill set, honed through years of scavenging for scrap materials, has allowed him to create devastating weapons and defenses where others see only junk. When Jasper questions the man's happiness about the Clums's arrival, he tells her that he's glad he can now burn whatever he wants without breaking the law or having to go to jail. When asked about the fire, he says it will eventually consume him, and he's going to burn as bright as he can until then. With a keen eye for strategy, Jasper notes that in a world where peace has become a distant memory, such an unconventional transaction is no longer an irrational notion. Meanwhile, in Sector 7, members of the rebellion stumble upon Amir, a voiceless captive who has managed to flee from the clutches of Clum. Jasper strides forth, her unwavering confidence putting Amir at ease as she promises not to harm him. With compassion in her voice, she informs him that his knowledge and skills could prove invaluable to their cause and extends a hand of friendship, willing to accept him into their ranks in any capacity he deems fit. Despite Amir's miraculous escape from Clum's captivity, the Resistance remains skeptical of his trustworthiness due to the many implants within his head. However, Jasper orders her allies to stand down and releases Amir from custody. Sarah, a compassionate member of the Resistance, takes him under her wing, seeking to gain his trust and encourage him to join their cause. She recognizes the value of Amir's precognitive powers, urging him to use them to help them fight against the Clum and bring an end to their tyranny. Jasper and her lieutenants check on the wounded survivors, horrified to find strange implants and devices implanted by the Clums inside the bodies of the deceased. After returning to Sarah, Jasper becomes determined to uncover the truth about what the Clums have done to Amir. Despite Amir's initial resistance, he eventually allows Jasper to examine the extensive cybernetic implants covering his head and shoulders. Despite the new world taking a toll on them, Amir emerges from his ordeal as someone completely different. The soldiers prepare for battle, with Sarah showing Amir how they fight to prevent the Clums from hurting anyone else in the same way they hurt him. Meanwhile, one of Jasper's lieutenants asks her about Sarah and Amir's connection. Jasper reveals that she lost her daughter to the Clums's experiments while pregnant with Amir, leading her to believe that she may have a predisposition to serve the Clums. However, Amir makes a complete recovery, both mentally and physically. As Amir's implanted memories come to life, he has a vision of a wounded Clum struggling to evade capture by the militia forces. Sarah, sensing an opportunity to turn the tides of the war, implores Amir to share his knowledge and aid the militia in their fight against the Clum's genocidal campaign. Sarah notices a change in Amir's eyes as they converse, realizing that he's gaining a clear vision of the impending Clum attack. Amir, who hasn't spoken yet, experiences a vision of the militia launching a daring raid and successfully shooting down an alien aircraft, using advanced technology and cybernetic enhancements to gain the upper hand. With the Clum pilot now on the run, she questions Amir about their ability to acquire the knowledge necessary to hunt the Clums and strike fear into their hearts. Amir's precognition reveals a disturbing vision of the Clum's nefarious plan to use telepathy to strike one of the militia soldiers, rendering him vulnerable to mind control. He sees the soldier's brain barrier become disconnected, causing him to seize his weapon and turn on his fellow soldiers, leaving them with no choice but to retaliate with lethal force. Sarah reminds Amir that he now possesses the Clum's abilities and has a duty to use them for the benefit of humanity. In the previous scene from his vision, the militia surrounds the Clum, and Jasper orders them to decapitate it. Despite suffering heavy losses, the human resistance successfully infiltrates Raqa's stronghold and plants a device that will cripple the Raqa's communication and control systems. However, the mission costs several members of the resistance their lives. The film concludes with Sarah urging Amir to use his ability as humanity's last hope. So, grab your brain barriers and strap in for the ride, because at Watch Dojo, we're not responsible for any telepathic implants or pyromaniac tendencies that may arise after watching Raqa.